what's up? Check out this blunt and honest review from the Jock and Nerd Podcast. That's us. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the jock.
He's the nerd.
And he's the rug boy.
What's up, guys?
Jock and Nerd. Let's get to this week's review. It's time to return to the house on the hill in the little town in Connecticut and the underworld. The music rolls, you're flying over the bottle. Yes, it's Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. Here's your spoiler alerts.
Strap yourselves in, you fucks. Spoiler time.
The sequel to Beetlejuice 1988 only took 36 years to make this thing. They've been trying to make it for a while. Finally gets made. On the Rotten Tomatoes, it is currently sitting at 77% tomato meter. 82% audience score, which they now call the popcorn meter. It's called the popcorn meter. I did not know that. This movie was made for $100 million. The original, I believe, was like $10 million. And it was projected to open big this weekend, and, well, it does. It opened to $111 million.
Oh, shit.
Domestic weekend opening, currently sitting at $147 million worldwide. The original movie made a total of $75 million in its box office run.
I wonder why this did so well.
You know what? We could talk about it. There's a number of reasons, like the nostalgia, the fact that there hasn't been Beetlejuice for 36 years. But I think cleverly with the casting of Jenna Ortega, you are now pulling in two audiences. You're pulling in the people who grew up.
I don't even know who that is.
Jenna Ortega. She was Wednesday. She's been in the Scream movies, Rising Star. She plays Lydia Deet's daughter.
Wait, you really think Jenna Ortega is the reason why?
I think that pulled in a lot of the younger demographic.
Really?
Yes.
Yes.
And the parents grew up with this movie. Now Jenna is in it, and the kids love Jenna. I think it was very smart to cast
Wednesday
her.
Wednesday Addams was huge for her.
Yeah.
And so there's a whole group of young fans that are into her. And she's even in music, popping up in music videos. She's all over the place. She's doing everything.
They used her TikTok fame. She has like 38 million people on TikTok. They were pushing a lot of TikTok videos she made with the cast for this movie. And I think that really worked. Anyways, that 111 million is the second biggest September debut in history. It's the second biggest opening for Tim Burton, and it's the year's third best opening, just after Inside Out and Deadpool and Wolverine, which is kind of crazy. Now, we talked about Jenna Ortega. Of course, this movie, another beautiful thing about this movie is Tim Burton is back. Tim Burton directing the movie from a screenplay by Alfred Goh and Miles Millar, who those guys wrote on the Wednesday show, and based on a story by Goh, Millar, and Seth Grahame-Smith. Starring, of course, here's another great reason, Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton, 73 years old, and puts on the Beetlejuice makeup. Now, what's great is he got to play fucking Batman and Beetlejuice again over 35 plus years later. It's wild. Winona Ryder back as Lydia Deetz. Catherine O'Hara back as her stepmother, Delia Deetz. We just mentioned Jenna Ortega playing Winona's daughter, Astrid Deetz. You got Justin Theroux as Rory, Lydia's boyfriend / producer. Monica Bellucci as Dolores. Willem Dafoe is in this movie playing Wolf Jackson. You have Arthur Conti playing Jeremy, teenage boy, kind of love interest for Astrid. And a great cameo by Danny DeVito as the underworld's janitor. And some other people who we don't have is Jeffrey Jones. We'll get to that. Anthony.
Yes.
You just saw this movie. Like literally.
That's why there was no instant reaction, because literally I made the recording of the show was delayed because of me, because I was out all weekend getting drunk and decided not to see the movie when I should have. So I had to catch a 6:00 showing, and we normally record at 7:30. So you do the math.
I do love traditionally Anthony is watching the movie just right up to before we record, like every week. It's kind of great.
It's like the least important thing.
I gotta wait till I absolutely have no more time to record this or think about it. Fine.
It'll be the absolute last thing I do before I record this podcast.
But you know what's smart about that? It's still fresh in your head.
It is, but when I do these, I don't have as much. I haven't coalesced all my thoughts, so it's going to be a little scrambled.
That's the con
Yes,
part.
I just saw the movie. What is it about? Is that what you just asked me?
Yes.
See, I don't even know what you guys.
PG-13. This one, hour 45 runtime. What happens in Beetlejuice Beetlejuice?
In Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, well, the family, Lydia is now an adult, and she's hosting ghost shows and shit, and with a live audience, but she's still seeing visions of ghosts, specifically Beetlejuice. And when her dad suddenly passes away, they have to go to the house that they once lived in back in the original Beetlejuice and collect all his shit and honor him with a ceremony. And she has a daughter that is pretty not in love with her, thinks she's crazy. And when they're at this house, all the old Beetlejuice shit starts to happen again because they come across the old model set from the original
where Beetlejuice lives.
Yeah. And chaos ensues, and there's probably like 35 storylines going on.
There's a lot more happening. Remember last week when we were like, the plot is very straightforward and just one thing happens. Well, they fixed that this time around. There's a fucking bunch of shit going on. Okay, here's your instant reaction. Normally, you put this on Patreon. Pretend it's Patreon. What'd you think?
Hey, Patreon listeners, thanks for listening to No, I'm just kidding. This movie, I would say that a couple things. I thought, first off, my first initial thought was, this is kind of a movie that you just normally wouldn't see because it felt like, to me, similar to almost the first one, where it was just like, this happens, now this happens, and we have this thing, and we have this thing, and there's not really like it like kind of just bouncing around like 3 or 4 storylines at the same time.
Yep.
And it's just like, oh, we have this kid and he's a ghost, and he's a murderer, and then we have Beetlejuice's ex-wife. Yeah. And then we got the whole Beetlejuice thing. Oh, she sees dead people. Oh, there's this guy that wants to marry her.
Boyfriend's a douchebag. Yeah.
Yeah, there's all this like stuff.
Yeah.
And it did kind of remind me of the 80s, so it was kind of this chaotic thing. That said, I don't think for me the movie really started to pick up until they reveal that the boyfriend is actually a murderer.
Okay.
I thought the first half of the movie, while it was like fun being back there, I was a little bit bored.
Yeah.
But once that kind of kicked into gear, then the movie picked up. There's still some like threads that I felt like were like the evil wife. I felt was just kind of a weird thing that they threw in there, and then it really didn't pay off too much.
Yeah.
So overall, I think I liked the film, but I think it's pretty maybe by design, but I thought it was pretty chaotic. There was just so many, I think there was at least 3 or 4 storylines going on at the same time.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they always like intersected really well. But at the end of the day, I enjoy, what's his face?
Keaton.
Dude is Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Keaton's good as Beetlejuice. Yeah. You have Winona Ryder who still looks relatively young, I guess.
Yeah.
You had the whole storyline with the daughter, and then you had some fun cameos with Danny DeVito and Willem Dafoe. And there was definitely more than a few times where I like chuckled in the empty theater I was in.
Yeah.
Starting off with just right off the bat with Catherine O'Hara, and she's like freaking out about the dad.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, did you get a divorce?" She's like, "No." What the? Why would you suggest that? He's dead. And just some of her lines, I just was like laughing the entire time. So
she had some good lines.
It made overall, I think the movie had enough to make me laugh. I wouldn't say, I'll hold off on this, but I'll just say right for now, I thought it was okay.
Okay. Ruggs, did you have a good time? What did you think?
I feel like the movie's at its best when they're in the netherworld, the neither world. That's what they call it.
Yeah.
And that's when it feels the most like Beetlejuice, and that's when it really has its charm. I did not think the thing that really broke my heart about this film is that I didn't think that musical Possession was very good.
Yes, that's underwhelming. Yes, didn't really work.
It was ill-timed and it didn't quite work. Yeah. And the fact that Beetlejuice was singing too.
And it's like at the end, it seems like tacked on, like they forgot. And they're like, oh shit, we should probably do this.
It didn't work for me. I thought there's some moments. The song is a good choice. I don't think that version of the song.
I didn't even know what that song was.
someone left the cake out in the rain. I think like
MacArthur Park.
I think that there's a one where a woman sings it and it's much better.
Okay.
But I think because Beetlejuice was singing it, it was weird. I don't know. It just didn't work. There were things that were okay. I think that Jenna Ortega's character, that dynamic that her mother, she doesn't like her mother because her dad died and her mom couldn't see her. And they didn't really get into that. Why?
Yeah.
Because he's working down in the netherworld. He just never came back. I don't know.
Yeah.
They never explained what happened.
Maybe that's why that's where he was. He wasn't.
I think that if you work in the netherworld, you killed yourself, but he didn't. He got eaten by piranhas.
Yeah. I don't know.
So I don't know. A lot of that didn't really make sense. I think that Michael J. Fox, Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
What the fuck am I talking about? Michael Keaton was good. I feel like he definitely slowed down a little bit.
Oh yeah, you can feel his age. He's not as quick.
Like he was not talking as fast.
Not as quick as he was in the first.
You want to know something? I think Batman's easier for him to play.
Oh yeah, because
Batman's quiet and like reserved.
Yeah.
To be Beetlejuice, you need a lot of energy.
And a lot of cocaine or
be
cocaine.
bombastic.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, and he's not doing that. So he's just like a reserved Beetlejuice. And so he's a ghost, so he shouldn't age. So
right.
It just you can notice those things. Overall, though, I think it's not the most offensive. You know what do I call these things? Revival sequels.
Yes,
where they try and revive the old cast and go out one more time.
And you bring the kids in. It's always about the kids.
Yeah.
And we've seen tons of these, right? Like Bill and Ted and Borat and Kevin. Ghostbusters does it.
But like, I think that their strategy was to try and make a movie for the new crowd, the younger kids.
Sure.
But what about the younger kids? Like a lot of kids watched Beetlejuice, right? Like it's like
there's an F word.
It's not really that much of an offensive movie besides that one MF bomb that they nice fucking model when he says that. But it's got no other curses in it, and it's kind of like innocuous movie. So it was a little bit more extreme. This one had a little gorier.
Yeah,
like. I guess he's using some CG effects, like when he spills his guts, and you got the birth scene, like fucking Rosemary's Baby, the Beetlejuice Baby.
The Beetlejuice Baby is fucking frightening. I was like, what the fuck? But
they're just putting a baby, like a baby Yoda, a baby Beetlejuice. It's very, very much like been done, like a lot.
I mean, there's still some practical effects you see in there, which is nice. I thought it was. I liked that. I think I liked it more because we had just watched Beetlejuice, but I had a fun time. Thought it was entertaining, and I think it was nostalgia done right. There was enough nostalgia. You know, they start with the music and flying over the town, and you're in right away. But it didn't rely too heavily on nostalgia. I thought there's a lot of things going on, but I felt what elevated this compared to the first one is those things were keeping the plot moving a little bit. But there was
always something going on.
There was always something going on where the first one is just kind of straightforward.
But did you learn anything that you didn't already know?
So we got some backstory on Beetlejuice. We see some more jobs in the underworld. I just really enjoyed seeing these characters again after 36 years, learning about what they are doing now. Getting back to the house and the model and up in the attic. It feels like Beetlejuice. It feels totally like it's that same world from 36 years ago, which I appreciated.
I think it's not a bridge too far. I think it's definitely got enough connective tissue visually. So I think a lot of people will be happy with how much it feels like Beetlejuice, especially in like the underworld, netherworld area. I also think that having a little bit more information about Beetlejuice being a grave robber.
Yes. There's so many things to talk about. I love the backstory and
I did not care for the Monica Bellucci character. I thought the assembly of her was cool.
Yes, when she staples herself
they
back
did
together.
Nothing with that character. It was such a stupid character.
So here's the thing with the villains. You have these like three kind of thinly written villains that if you remove one or two of them, I don't know how much it really affects the movie. And all their endings are kind of anticlimactic also.
I would say the I would agree with Ruggs, and I brought that up to start. The Monica Bellucci villain, like if you take her out of the movie, the movie's completely the same. Like you don't really need her.
You don't even need the husband in there either.
The husband was like a weird thing. I thought there was a little more value to the husband.
Yeah.
Like when he proposes to her on
that's the
funeral
cringiest
day,
fucking thing ever.
I was like, what the hell?
He proposes at the funeral, at Charles Dean's funeral.
But when you're saying three villains, really though, the kid was obviously. I found the kid to be the most intriguing.
Yeah,
but you also have to keep in mind when they're doing these villain things that Beetlejuice is technically a villain.
Well, in the first one, Beetlejuice was
in
the
this
bad
one
guy.
too.
In this one too.
They do. It's like an uneasy partnership. He's obviously there to like marry Winona Ryder's character and like stay there forever.
He's always thinking about himself. Yeah, but he So he does help them out, and then he gets the shaft anyways. So, which I guess is it's the fourth villain.
And then they resolve that whole marriage very quickly. Like the daughter's just like, it doesn't make. I read the book. It doesn't hold up.
She opened the book at the exact right page to be like, oh, I just draw a square on the floor and fucking sandworm.
Well, that's where I was like, this movie in general, with all the storylines it had, it was just like, this happened. Now this is going to happen. Now this is going to happen. Yeah. Like it's very. It just jumps from one thing to another, and it's like, okay, now this is it. Now this is like, there's no, I mean, there is like a little bit of world building, but they don't. It's a relatively like, we're not going to think about this too hard.
No, it doesn't take itself too seriously, and really, you should.
But it's also very, in that sense, though, it's very safe.
Yeah, because it can just write its way out of whatever.
It's not really an elegant film at all.
No, but it's Beetlejuice.
I think they had an elegant film, and they just stapled all the shit onto it.
Okay, wait. Let's talk about his backstory. So we learn Beetlejuice has been, he lived in the 14th century in Italy. The whole thing is told like a Fellini film.
No, I think I don't know.
Because it's in Italian. And
he's speaking Italian, but I think he's not in Italy.
Tim Burton liked the Fellini horror movies, so this is like his Fellini bit. So I don't know, maybe it's in Europe. 14th century, after the Black Plague, he survives, and he's a grave robber. And he meets her, Dolores LaVerge, and they get married, and she poisons him. So because she's part of some cult or something, I don't know. It was unclear. But then as he's dying, he fucking hatchets her up, chops her up, and they don't meet for like however many 600 years since then.
I didn't really get, not to harp on this too much, but I didn't really get why she's sucking the life out of people and why she had that power.
I don't know. That's what they just kept saying. She's a soul sucker. That's her job.
And I thought it would have been a bigger build up to the end because you're building up this character to be a killer of dead people, like kills the dead.
Yes, she's the one who actually, if you're already dead, she will make you more dead.
And then she just kind of gets eaten by the sandworm, like
And it was
like the other guy.
Yes, and it ends a lot like the first movie. And Winona's in the same red dress, and they're taken out with the sandworm. And I knew it was predictable when she was going to show up. I was like, okay, now she's going to show up at the fucking wedding. That Danny DeVito cameo was great, seeing him, and then he got sucked up. He looked fucking disgusting. Great makeup.
I think it would have been better if Monica Bellucci comes back in the picture earlier and Beetlejuice falls back in love with her.
Yeah, because she wanted him back. She wanted to marry him. And they get married.
But then Lydia needs him.
Yeah.
And then she's got to be like, well, you've been following me around my whole life.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now you want her. What about me? I need you to help me. And that would have been kind of more fun. But and then there would have been a reason for her to be there.
Well, they were doing the whole angle where each of the main characters has a lover that they don't want.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Someone that's evil to them, with each of those.
Except for Lydia's mom.
Except for Lydia's mom.
Can we talk about Charles Dietz? Because what they did was fucking hilarious.
I didn't like the animated part. I pulled me out of the movie.
When we find out Charles Dietz dies, Delia is telling Lydia the story, and it's funny because she's like, he was in a plane crash, and it's told in this weird like animated claymation style. Lydia's like, oh, he died in the plane crash? She's like, no, he survived and then got eaten by a shark. And then at the funeral,
he died doing what he loves, traveling to watch birds fuck.
Yes, because he was a bird. That's a great line. And then the funeral, you see that his headstone is in the shape of a shark fin. Which is hilarious. So they have Jeffrey Jones's pictures on there, but then when he shows up in the underworld, the whole top half of him is removed from his shark bite. You see his spine, and there's blood gurgling out. And you hear a voice, it's uncredited, vaguely sounds like Jeffrey Jones. And I was like, that's fucking brilliant. What a funny way. Because Charles Dietz dies, you need him in the underworld. How are you going to do this?
Well, I think they could have done that whole thing without the claymation and still would have worked.
The claymation bit was weird.
Traditionally.
Yeah.
Well, I think they were throwing it back to what they did in the original, right? With the claymation.
Did they have claymation other than the sandworms there?
I mean, they had in like parts where Beetlejuice would freak out and his eyes would bug out, and the heads, when they stretched the heads, it was kind of like.
Here's the thing about like as we go along to this, like I can't normally in these situations I'd be like, oh man, they kind of fucked it up, or they didn't treat the source material, but like Tim Burton did this.
Yeah,
I mean obviously he didn't write it.
Yeah,
but he's that's his canon.
Yeah,
and he's doing what he wants with
it. The thing is,
that's true.
That's how I feel. You can't be mad. This is like after 36 years, this is about as good as the Beetlejuice kind of thing you could put together.
I think it was serviceable. Absolutely.
It's similar to, and this will make our boy Nick Shev really happy. It's similar to like when Ridley Scott went back to the Alien and did shit. It's like, it's his shit.
It's Ridley.
He can do what he wants with it. Might not make sense. You might not agree with all the choices, but it was partly his shit.
Remember, his participation in Alien was debatable. Ridley Scott.
That's right.
What's funny about that?
Well, okay, what did you think
nothing funny about
what did you think about where Lydia's character was after 36 years and how Astrid is kind of how Lydia was in the first movie, sort of? Like, did that?
So Lydia's now basically turned her ghost seeing abilities into like money.
Right.
Like making money off.
She's making a TV show, the boyfriend's producing, she's got to do appearances, she's a medium.
Here's the thing about Lydia, real quick.
Yeah.
I know it's like nostalgia to see her like that, but I would have thought after 40 years she'd stop dressing like a doll.
Update her wardrobe and her hair. Nope.
I would have felt like she would have looked maybe a little different. Still wearing black. Still, her haircut was kind of, it bothered me with the spikes. I was like, did you cut it like that? What is that? What's going on?
And it might be her persona. Look at the Long Island medium's hair. It's crazy.
Yeah, oh yeah, she got big poofy hair.
And they kind of make her. They kind of make her a dummy.
Yeah, a little bit when
she's just getting conned by this guy.
Yeah, and like everybody can see the minute you meet him that this guy's a fucking new agey douchebag. Yeah, that he's not sincere. He tries to be. I also didn't like. I actually didn't like the way Astrid talks to Lydia. Like she just like immediately is just like very disrespectful throughout the entire movie. Yeah. You're an idiot. You can't see shit. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, so she has a good point. Her father disappeared, South America, presumably dead. She's like, why can't you see him? And I was like, oh man, that's rough. Well, they always do that though. That's a trope. Though. Whenever they do these requel, like legacy sequels, the kids always hate the old characters. Right. And like Eddie Murphy and Beverly Hills Cop, like always the kids always hate their parents. They're like, oh,
I know it's such a tired trope.
Well, the kids and they have to go through their own journey to get there, right? And they kind of they do that for Astrid. By the end, she's on board. The twist kind of got me with Jeremy. So she runs off at the funeral after he proposes, crashes into this dude's treehouse. It's this kid Jeremy, fights her over Halloween. She comes over the next day. You see. He introduces her to her parents. You don't see their faces. They're very busy. Their backs are turned. And they go upstairs, and he reveals himself to be a ghost. Right. That's where the movie picked up. So then he makes her, he's like, I need your help to come back to life. You can see your father. He makes her recite something. It's clever because he's like, oh, I found this book at a thrift shop. And you think it's like the book from the Dietz house, the Maitland's house, the handbook for the deceased. Turns out it's his copy. Right. Yeah, we learned that he's tricked her. They've switched places, and he's trying to fucking get out while she's being...
You didn't see that coming at all?
No, I saw it coming when she showed up to his house at Halloween, and he's acting weird, and I was like...
No, I knew exactly when we walked into his house, and you didn't see his parents' faces.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. I was like, why aren't they showing...
I was like, this guy's a ghost.
Yeah.
Well, I think I was just so bored at that point. There was a couple moments where I was almost falling asleep because I thought the first half was a little rough. Yeah. So I don't think I was fully in tune to catch what you guys were catching. Yeah. So they find out that he killed his parents, and then the parents turn. And you see there's kitchen tools in their eye sockets
in their brains. And but barely an inconvenience. They get Beetlejuice to help, and he's there with the passport. And this is where we get the first the F-bomb, where he sends him to hell, and he's just like, "See you later, fucker."
Well, when you're bringing back Beetlejuice, I thought in the first movie they established that you bring back Beetlejuice to haunt people. Like the ghosts use Beetlejuice to haunt people out of like situations where they're like cohabiting a house.
Right.
And now it's like, well, you can bring back Beetlejuice to deal with anything when it comes to the dead.
Anything. Well, but he's not. He was a freelance bioexorcist in the beginning. He's not that anymore. We learned that he is the manager for the call center in the afterlife with Bob and those other dudes. I love Bob. He stole the show. I was sad when he died. They shouldn't have killed Bob.
Oh, you're talking about the shrunken
head guy. Bob was great. The little noises he was making. Can't say anything, and they were so expressive. But so in this one, he's just like, he's been working down there this whole time. That's what I thought. And he just
didn't they like in the first movie not want him around? They were like, oh, don't say that guy.
Yeah,
that guy
he's trouble, but apparently they've just given him a desk job. Yes.
I thought he had like a rogue operation going on.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Really?
And then now he's kind of integrated into this.
Okay.
He was like a rogue operation, right?
I thought he was head of the call center, whatever. But that's why you needed Dolores, Monica Bellucci's character, to give him some motivation to get the fuck out of there and get married again, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know. So
I did like when he appears, though, through the thing, and he slowly rises up.
The juice is loose.
Yeah.
That's a great entrance. They do swear again, and they beep it out the second time. I think he goes, "What the fuck?" And it's like beep.
Swear. Yeah.
And I was like, they gave you one. So then Delia gets bitten, and she dies very quickly. That was kind of sudden.
That just was like, oh, she's dead.
She's dead.
We just wrote this, and she's dead now. All of a sudden,
she decides to poison herself with snakes.
Those scenes were funny in the afterworld where she's
great in the movie. She's
so good.
She's the same age as Michael Keaton, but she's bringing it like you wouldn't even know.
Her, I would say like the standouts from obviously Michael Keaton's good, but like her and Willem Dafoe, I thought were just like having a blast.
Let's talk about Willem Dafoe playing Wolf Jackson. I guess he was an actor
playing a cop,
and in the underlife he's a cop and he's practicing, and there's someone there to hold coffee cups for him so he can just crush them and throw them.
Cue cards behind people.
Yes, when he's talking to them, there's cue cards up there. It wasn't necessary, but it was funny. So he's investigating all the deaths Dolores is doing, and it leads him to Beetlejuice.
Well, I think his role was to kind of replace that old lady that was in the first.
Juno, the caseworker.
Right. They needed someone like that. And Willem Dafoe is always going to be like, if you cast him in anything sort of creepy or funny like that, like he's always going to fit in.
Yeah, he's chewing the scenery and just having a blast. I did enjoy the Willem Dafoe. And I really like Jenna Ortega in this. I thought, and as Wednesday, she's playing like a weird goth teenager, but this one she's playing a normal, skeptical teenager. But she's really good. I always buy everything she's doing. There's the Soul Train, so we also learn a little bit about what happens to them. We learned that there was a loophole that Lydia helped Adam and Barbara Maitland cross over due to a loophole, so I like the closure on that.
Oh, yeah, I was wondering about them.
They did mention them. With some of the other,
they probably just didn't have money to be like,
no, because you'd have to de-age them, right? They don't age; they'd have to look the same.
That's right.
You can't have them old, and nobody's aging. So I was all right not seeing the Maitlands. You had the model, and you had. Oh, did you notice in the beginning the model? You see their car in the river under the bridge, and you see like them crawling out of the model. That was a nice little touch.
I did not notice that.
They fly over that. I love when Beetlejuice was singing the Richard Marx song, Right Here Waiting. That was funny. That was a good lip sync.
Man, did you write down every single detail of the movie?
Just the Easter eggs I could remember. Here's a question. She's in the same wedding dress. Somebody else brought this up. I don't know if it's true. Was Dolores missing her ring finger? Because I think in the first one where he pulls out the ring and there's a finger on it, I think that was her finger from that wedding.
Dolores?
Yeah.
Who's Dolores?
Monica Bellucci.
Was she missing a ring? She puts her finger back on.
She does put the finger on.
Yeah, it's the last thing she
puts on. It would have been
on.
nice if she didn't have that finger and that was his finger. Maybe I was wrong. I don't know. Do you guys think this is a little return to form for Tim Burton? I felt like Tim Burton and Keaton effortlessly like slips back into this role as Beetlejuice, and Tim Burton's having fun with the same.
I like this kind of Tim Burton.
I do. Yeah.
Because when he tries to make regular movies or movies that are like too far outside of his purview, like they just don't have the magic. This was okay. I think that he should do more movies like this, like Edward Scissorhands, like these movies that are like comedic but tragic at the same time, and they have that weird Tim Burton quirkiness,
goth darkness.
Yeah, I think people still like that. I think you have a bunch of kids that are growing up on like really weird shit. Like there's popular stuff that's all like have to do with like monsters and fucking zombies and all these fucking like Twilight type shit, you know, like all this, like there's always like a dark undercurrent with the young people. They like that stuff. There's always into monsters and vampires and around Halloween, because Halloween's such a big thing, right?
Yeah.
So I think this ties in perfectly with Halloween and the season, the spoopy season, and all that fun shit.
But it's so unique. Like nobody's really doing like a wacky, dark, goofy thing like this. Comedy horror. It's very uniquely Tim Burton.
I agree. I do agree. I remember when I was watching. I remember as if this was a long time ago. When I was watching the movie, I legitimately thought to myself, I went, there's not a lot of movies that look like this right now.
Yeah.
You know, but in terms of how it looks, how wacky it is,
practical effects.
Yeah, practical effects, the tone, just everything. It's all unique in terms of, you know, what you would see in the compared to mainstream films. There's not a lot of films about the dark underworld that's a comedy and, you know, and having all the visuals that you would have. So in that sense, I do appreciate that Tim Burton was like, you know, I'm still just going to make a Tim Burton Beetlejuice film and fuck it. Whatever happens, happens.
I think it's partly why it opened how it did, is just people saw something different and refreshing and nostalgia. And
it's also helpful that Beetlejuice hasn't been beaten into the ground, right?
Yes,
we have one movie.
Yes, not even that. 17 minutes. That's all you had. 17 minutes of Beetlejuice spawned all this.
Right. So you could do it. He basically could do whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
There's no, if anything, if I had to nitpick, I wish we would have had a more, like, if they do another Beetlejuice, I think what you do is like an origin Beetlejuice movie.
I kind of want to see Astrid, some adventures with her in Beetlejuice, and maybe they team up and they continue. What you want to see? What, like an old school?
An origin.
Oh, well, they kind of gave us that a little bit.
A little bit.
I know, but I want to know, like, I want to see some of like his early adventures, why he got like
before he was dead.
Yeah, before he was dead, and then also once he became
early
Beetlejuice.
Dead, yeah.
Like, what made him all of a sudden this like non sequitur? Like, no one wants to hang with him. All that shit.
I mean, if the guy lived during the Black Plague and just saw death everywhere, like I think that informs a lot of his attitude of like, fuck it. And his darkness, that's all he knew. If you think about it, but I don't know.
Do you think if you grew up during the plague, Imran, you'd end up like Beetlejuice? I feel like you guys have similar personalities.
Maybe I'd be really skeptical and foul and just like, I don't know.
I feel like you do the opposite of Ghostbusters. You just like, I could see like Astrid like and Beetlejuice going and like getting rid of people, like helping dead people get rid of annoying people that live in the houses.
Yeah.
And you could just do all the different types of annoying people that there are.
The ghosts find them to get shitty people out of their house.
Like you have a very liberal couple that dies and then Trump supporters move into their house.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Yeah, you could do all sorts of things like that.
Shit. There are vegans and then like the carnivores move in.
We're trying to have a barbecue.
Yeah.
These fucking
They're
vegans.
constantly barbecuing. Yeah.
I think you could. I mean, he is 73, so I don't know if he's going to want to do this again, but you could do more. They leave it kind of open. Oh,
well, you could have Baby Juice grow up.
Let's talk about the ending with the baby Beetlejuice. The ending, it's fucking wild. So many things happen really quickly. So after the wedding, and that's all resolved, Lydia is shooting the last episode of her show. She wants to hang out with Astrid. And you see like a montage where they're going to all the places Astrid and her father wanted to go. And it fast forwards through time. She's in college. She sees a dude. Apparently this guy's name is Vlad. Then there's a wedding. She's married.
Well, she's at Dracula's castle.
Yeah, she's at Dracula's castle. This guy, it's credited as Vlad. So he may be a vampire that she marries. Because they focus
he's
in on him.
dressed as Dracula.
Yeah, they focus in on him. I was like, are we supposed to know who that is?
This is all a dream sequence, everyone.
Yeah, so it's a dream. She's married. She's pregnant. The baby comes out. It's a fucking Beetlejuice baby. It crawls on the ceiling, drops into her arms. And then Lydia wakes up only to be in the bed with Beetlejuice next to her. And he's like, you're not going to believe the dream I just had. And then she wakes up again. Kind of implying that he's always going to be haunting her, maybe. What the ending was, I was like,
maybe, yeah, of course.
What did
That's
you
exactly
what the fuck? What did you guys think of that ending? That was crazy.
It was weird. I felt like that birth was a little bit much. It was like,
does he come shooting out of there or something?
It was like a big explosion of blood, and he comes shooting out of there, and it was just like I'm like baby juice again.
Baby juice. You got to have a baby something.
I mean, I think that ending it was they threw a lot at you, and I don't know if I necessarily liked it, but I appreciated that Tim Burton was like, oh, no, this ain't ending with like a happily ever after thing. I'm just gonna throw some wild shit to end this thing. And leave you going, oh fuck! What the fuck?
Yeah,
what the fuck was? It worked. I literally walked out of that movie like, what the fuck just happened?
Yes, the end was crazy. Then it ends, and I'm like, oh.
I had to look at Wikipedia and be like, was that a dream or did I just see something that actually happened?
No, it was definitely
a dream within a dream. It was an Inception dream, and it was a crazy ending.
Hey,
so.
I mean, Tim Burton. I'll give him credit, man. Tim Burton and these writers, they were like, fuck it, we're just gonna write shit. This is in that sense, like I respect that it was like it felt like an 80s movie because it was just like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah,
we don't care.
Yeah.
We're just doing what we want. It's if we want to see a fucking baby Beetlejuice come out of Happy Wednesday, we're gonna write.
I can write that. I can make that happen. No, and I appreciated that too because it doesn't take itself that seriously, and you kind of enjoy it. And I had some laugh out loud moments for me too. I like when he showed her the picture and his eyes bug out and he's like, I've never seen that woman in my life. I like when Catherine O'Hara, Delia, like goes to the first time the priest talks to her when she's like, he died and the priest is like, oh, have the spirit go into the past, the faith and the matter. And she just goes, what? Right at him. It was really, that priest was hilarious. I didn't know what he was saying anytime.
I couldn't write down the lines because I was seeing it in the theater, but as we mentioned earlier, I thought Catherine O'Hara had so many great reactions to things.
Yeah.
And her character being like this, I don't even know how to describe. Like, I've never met anyone that's like that.
I like that she's still like this weird artist. And now it's like
weird artisty
person. Up that French guy in the beginning.
Oh yeah, that guy dies and he
falls into a manhole.
Yeah, he falls into a manhole. We follow him into the underworld.
I like that at the end too. She's like, or they're like, you're dead, but all your artwork's going to go up in value. And she's basically like, yeah, cool. All right, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
that's all she wants.
Great.
Finally, she gets the recognition she always wanted. The weird.
They just like kill her out of nowhere.
Yeah, the
like,
snakes. She's like, I'm going to do this ritual at Charles's grave. These snakes have been defanged, I was told. And they were not. They just, I'm like,
bit, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, she's dead.
I was like, wait, did they just kill her? She's in the fucking waiting room, and she's like,
she was like, no, I can't be dead. I have things to do.
Can I talk to someone?
I've got global entry.
I got global entry. Does that do anything? That was really funny. She had probably the more funny lines than even Beetlejuice.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird dynamic too, because in the first one, she's kind of the villain.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah,
and now in this one, Winona Ryder's just like, I kind of like you. You've always kind of been all right.
It's been 30 years, and now because at one point Delia's trying to help her. She's like, "Where's that teen that used to bug me all the time? You got to bring that back. Tap into her again and get this done."
I like that she goes to the school, Catherine O'Hara, and was like, just basically, I can't quote the lines, but she's always like, just cut your shit and get out here.
Yeah, she's just yelling in front of all her friends.
Get the fuck out here.
Let's go. So yeah, it's fun stuff. All right, let's wrap it up. Anthony, final thoughts. Give me a score. Did you like it better than the first one?
I actually had a good time talking to you guys about the movie. I would say the first half of the movie, I found it to be a little slow. I was like, where is this going? Yeah. And then as mentioned a few times, started to pick up for me. I appreciated how wacky it was in that they had so many different things going on. I could do without the Monica Bellucci stuff. I felt like that really didn't add anything in retrospect. I respect the tone and, just it being a Tim Burton film. But I do like the first one better. I think the first one is while this one has more going on, the first one I think is a tighter film.
Yeah.
And Michael Keaton definitely has way more energy in that one.
Yeah.
So I think it's fine. I think this movie was fine. I think it was a good, like nostalgia. I would rate it a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
I like the first one better.
Yeah. Rugs?
I was going to give it a 6.5. I feel like it's going to hit the right notes. If you miss Beetlejuice and you want to see Beetlejuice again, and you want to hear the music again, you want to see the practical effects again, and you want to see the underworld again, you're going to get to see all that. But it comes with a little bit of baggage with some of this tacked on stuff and a kind of weak musical number.
Yeah, that's the worst.
And so if that musical number would have been good, it would have saved the whole film.
Yeah, absolutely.
And probably pushed it to a 7.5 or an 8. But as it stands, even though I like that song, I just don't know. I don't like where it was, how it was handled, and I felt like it brought the ending down a little bit. And so it's a 6.5.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed the two movies together. If you watch the first one and watch the second one, it's a great compliment. It feels like Beetlejuice. Getting to hang out with these characters after all this time was great. The musical number thing, though, also bugs me because I didn't even know what that song was. And I was like, what is this song? I wasn't familiar. It wasn't like Harry Belafonte, who's got a certain, vibe and it lifts you up.
Yeah, it was a different kind of song.
It seems so tacked on, but
yeah,
I did have a good time. I'm going to give it a 7. I think it's a 7 for me. But I still think you're right. The first one's iconic.
It's elegant.
And it's elegant because there's less. They maybe a little too many things going on. I appreciated that there were more things moving the plot this time, but I think it was a little bit too much. But I love seeing the gang back together, and they didn't just do the hits. They actually tried to make something a little bit fresh.
Commendable.
Yeah, serviceable, commendable, a little bit fresh without being too nostalgic. I love learning more about Beetlejuice, and all these jobs and the cameos were good. So yeah, I'll give it a 7. Not as good as the first, but fun. And fitting Beetlejuice sequel.